Hello, welcome to my channel. I am here doing a story time. This is part 10. I've got Vivian playing a game in the background and I am telling the story. So we had last left off, it was summer of 2020, late summer, and my husband had just left the rehab center after like a day and a half and just walked out and came home and said he was fine. And so at that point, there was nothing I could do. I couldn't throw him out because he wouldn't leave. I couldn't leave on my own because I had nowhere to go. And so the kids and I were just basically forced to stay. And at that point, that was when his drug use got to its very worst. Like, he was gone. I will say the one saving grace is he was gone most of the time. He would stay gone for 3-4 days at a time, and then he would come home and he would sleep for like 17 hours. And then sometimes he would stay home for a day or two though, and those were the worst days, because when he did come home, he would be angry, he would be mean. I would be like, if he was home for a few days, he would spend most of his time out in his shed. And I would go to bed, I'd fall asleep, and he would come upstairs to our bedroom. He would wake me up from a sound sleep and demand to know what I was doing, because he would say that he felt the bed vibrating, like buzzing. And I would be like, what are you talking about? Like, it'd be like 2-3 in the morning and I'm barely awake. And I was already having trouble sleeping because I had so much stress going on, and it was terrible. And so he would wake me up and he'd say, where is it? And he'd be like ripping the blankets off, and he'd put his hand on the bed, and he'd tell me he could feel vibrating. He thought I had a vibrator hidden in my bed. And first of all, I don't know why that would matter. And second of all, what? No. What? But because I found out later that the drug he was on made him vibrate, like his body vibrate. So he thought when he felt this vibration, he would lay down in the bed, and that's when he would feel the vibrating. He didn't realize it was himself. So he thought that it was the bed. So he would wake me up, and this happened all the time. And it was to the point where I dreaded going to bed. I did not want to sleep because I knew he was going to wake me up for some reason or another, and it was awful every time. And so basically for the next year and a half or so, the kids and I more or less had to survive. School started back up again, the fall of 2020, and then my oldest was in college. My youngest decided to go back to in-person school, and the kids I watched, all except for Vivian, went back to school. Vivian, she was still in her last year of being home with me, so she did not go to school. So I had my middle son home doing virtual school, like online school, and then Vivian home with me. And my husband still was not working. He did not have a job. He was, of course, using lockdown as an excuse at this point that nobody was hiring because the world was locked down, and so he was always gone, except when he wasn't, but at least he was gone a lot. So that was our saving grace. And honestly, we were in I know I've already said this, but we were in such survival mode. We were just trying to get through life. We didn't know. It was bad. And so he had already put cameras up so that he could watch, because he thought that I was cheating on him with everybody on earth. So then me and my middle son developed a routine, because he would have a lunch break during school. And so what we would do is we would get in the car, we'd strap Vivian in because it was right around her nap time, and we would plug music in. We had like, an auxiliary cord for the van, because I had like an older van at that point. And so we would plug in this auxiliary cord and we'd turn on music. We had this playlist that was literally called Drive. And we would put the music on and we would go to Tim Hortons. And then from there, we'd get iced coffees. We'd get Vivian some of the little Timbits. And then we would, if you don't, I'm sure everybody knows what Tim Hortons is, but if you don't have a Tim Hortons around you, it's just a coffee shop. It's like Starbucks, but better. And so we would just drive around. We had this whole like route that we took, and we would just drive it. Well, I'm assuming because we all had turned our locations back on for each other at this point, I'm assuming that my husband must have been like tracking me, because he started insisting that I was cheating on him with somebody on this one specific road. Like, he would bring up this road all the time. Well, I didn't know what the road was. Like, the name wasn't familiar to me. But then finally, on one of me and my son's like little routes, like drives, we happened to drive by and I noticed the street sign and I realized it was that road. Well, it was like a cross section. So we drove past this road, but we didn't actually go on it. I'm assuming my phone GPS probably threw me over, and probably showed that I was on that road, even though we never went down that road. We just went past it. And so I tried to explain to him that was just a road we went past. We didn't even ever go down it. But nope, GPS showed me there one time, so I was having an affair. I also did home health care at the time. I took care of an elderly man on hospice on the weekends. I did the child care during the week, and then on the weekends I did this home hospice care. And my husband, when I was gone during the home hospice care, he would tell the kids that the GPS was showing me at like some other, basically across the street, because these people lived right on the water, so the signal did not really catch. Like, they lived in like a 55 and up like apartment building, like I guess, like, I don't know if they'd be condos or apartments, but that's where I went to take care of this man. And they, like, he would tell the kids that I was actually at some other place across the street. And the funny thing is, when I actually, like, the kids told me this later on, that, that he would come to them and always tell them that that's where I really was. I wasn't really at work. Like, I'm leaving the house in scrubs and coming home with rubber gloves and butt cream in my pocket for no reason, apparently. But they would, the funny part is, later on when they showed me on the map where he told them that I was at, it was this gazebo or like pavilion thing, I guess, that's across the street that had been built kind of recently for like events, like, if you wanted to have a birthday party there, or like a shower, or, something. It was completely empty and unoccupied. At that time, it was during COVID, they were still building it. They hadn't even completed it yet. And I guess my GPS, when I drove past it to turn into the parking lot for the apartments, which I'm really not surprised that it didn't pick up my phone there, because like I said, they were right on the water, so the signal was spotty at best, even when I was up in their apartment. But it's just so funny to me that that's where he insisted that I was on the weekends when I would go and take care of this man. So I don't know, it was just little stuff like that he was constantly like going to my children and telling them that I was doing all this stuff, or like accusing me of being in these places that were kind of close to where I was, but not actually where I was. And I just ignored it. He would make his little comments. He would constantly watch the cameras. He even wanted to put cameras inside, and I told him, no, you're not putting cameras inside of this house. I will take those down. I couldn't take down the ones on the house because he literally had to get up on a ladder to get them. And then, that was the other thing. He spent all of his time in his shed when he was home. Like I said, I had a key to the shed originally. He took my key. He took it off of my keychain when I was sleeping and hid it. Like, I was not allowed to ever go in that shed. So, I don't know. It was insane. But in the next video, we will move on to what happened in 2021. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time. Bye.